Hello there guys, and welcome back to Civilization 5 Brave New World, currently playing as Germany and heading towards our cultural victory. At the moment, we're not at war with anybody, which is good, so let us start by launching straight into the next turn. Now I am currently building a settler because I was going to start another city up here, which is what the AI was advising me to do. I'm having second thoughts about that at the moment because building a city up here, while it would give me an extra city, wouldn't really be all that useful. Sure, I'd gain access to extra salt, wheat and horses, but there aren't really any other extra resources up here that would outweigh the downsides of having an extra city. I already have 4 cities. I do at some point want to try and take over Grand River. That is probably going to happen. That will give me 5. But every time I start a new city, it just ends up making my social policies more expensive. So for the time being, I definitely think that I should hold off. I'm still going to build that settler, and we'll keep it in reserve. We may find somewhere useful to go. What I am going to do is these warriors and archers here, I'm going to move them one at a time. And I'm just going to pop them into friendly territory and back out again to get them both the embarkation upgrade, so at least we can get them out of this area because we can't go through the Iroquois territory. Right, there wasn't an awful lot we can do on that turn. Let's just have a quick look and see how things are progressing. Not friendly with either of the city-states. One thing that I should be keeping an eye on with city-states is if they have any quests. Now, you can find this out by either clicking on the city-state. As you can see, Singapore here doesn't actually have any quests. And we can click on and have 2 quests. They want us to generate a great merchant, not specifically us. If anybody does, they'll be happy. And they also want us to connect gems to our trade network. Well, we are currently in the process of connecting the gems, so that should give us some influence with Now, great merchants. We've already looked at great people. I spoke about that in the last episode. Great merchant. We don't have one going on here in Berlin, but we do have one going on here in Hamburg, and that's because we have a market, and the market gives us a great merchant slot, and we have a specialist in there, which is giving us +3 towards a great merchant every turn, as it says there. We could also do this at Berlin, because at Berlin we actually have an artist guild and we have a market, so we could try and generate both of those things there. It is probably worth having an artist, because we don't have much going on towards art. Berlin has quite a decent population, so taking 1 or 2 people out and putting them as specialists isn't going to cause too much harm. And let's put at least 1 in the market. Now, it will drop things like production because we're taking people out of the fields and hexes, basically. But it will still continue to increase in size. You can also see what quests the city-states have if you click on the diplomacy button and just scroll down a little bit. So, as you can see, the 2 quests that have. Chocoa are... Why do I keep calling it Chocoa? Cahokia. Are accepting gold gifts, so if you give them money, it's worth more influence. Geneva wants Voltology, and well, they're the only people. Apparently, we are. Oh no, Kaiser are only angry with us. I'm not sure why. Maybe we've gone through their territory recently. It's probably likely to be what's happened. We've gone through there with some sort of unit, no doubt. And we must have, because we've recently just discovered these areas, and Vilnius is a little angry with us as well. So we must have cut through their territory. So, without further ado, let us move on to the next turn, because there wasn't an awful lot to do on that turn. I think we have now met all of the AIs. And we have mutual embassies with all of them, so we can see their capitals on the map. So it does give us a kind of an idea of the expanse. There is likely to be some land out there that we haven't used yet, so I'm going to have a look and see what we can do with that. Choose production. That is going to be at Hamburg. Now, it's probably not worth really building any of the wonders here, because they would take quite a long time. And both of the wonders that I can currently build would give me faith, which is not something that I'm particularly playing towards at the moment. So, what else could I build here? Well, happiness is definitely worth it because we only have a happiness of 2. And golden ages are really useful to us. So let's get some additional happiness going. Let us build a Colosseum here. Or we could go straight for the garden. And that would give us extra great people generation. But the only great people we're generating here at the moment is merchants anyway. So we're going to go for the Colosseum. That seems to make the most sense to me. Berlin has now finished its settler. So we have those same 2 options as before that we had at Hamburg. Now, I've got options here of the National College, the East India Company, and the Grand Temple. But as you can see with these, they require certain things. The Grand Temple still requires 2 more temples in Munich and Cologne. The East India Company still requires 2 markets at Munich and Cologne. And the National College still requires 2 libraries at Munich and Cologne. So I can't build any of these wonders until I have built those buildings. And if I was to add more cities by moving these settlers and building another city up here, I'd just be making the problem worse. So we're going to leave that for now. And we are going to build another Colosseum. I am going to move these settlers just up and out of the way. I am going to keep them because I may decide to expand later on. And I might find a little island somewhere, which might be a brilliant place to expand to. So, a couple of uneventful turns, really. Still plenty of things to hook up on the network. There's another salt there that we haven't taken advantage of. We've got some bananas here, which may not be worth upgrading because these bananas are actually on in a jungle. And the jungle provides us with food anyway. So by working that tile, we might actually make it less. That can happen, but I will have to check that out because I can never remember the way that one works. Those settlers are literally just going to go sleep in that field. Literally sleep in the field and do nothing. Still got these Japanese workers, the Japanese settlers around. They've obviously taken damage from somewhere. Decided that this city is quite small and 1 worker is enough. So I'm moving these guys up. I believe the plan was to try and... Right, it says... Oh, right, they currently can't get up here because these Japanese settlers are in the way. That's why. So hopefully they will move. And I can get up, get them on the land here, cut through the city-states, and then we'll have a second worker up there that we can actually make some use of. So, Hiawatha has completed the pyramids. We knew he was building it because we could see it. So, that will have just given him 3 extra workers as well, which is probably why he has 1 there. 3 extra workers in his capital. He did lose 1 to us in the war, which, let's be honest, was his own fault. And we have a great writer. Munich has grown. These guys can now start to make their way up the coast a little bit. And Singapore have rather pointlessly built a trireme in this little lake that they can't get out of. I still don't really know what these Incan warriors are doing here. They could get out on either side, but they seem to be quite happy to just stick around in this little lake, and I don't have a clue why. So Munich has grown. It's finished the library, which is one of the things that we did want to build. We could go for the stoneworks. Now, the stoneworks would give extra 1 production for every stone and marble that is being worked by the city. Well, that's actually 2, so it would get an extra 2 production for doing that, and it would get a plus 1 happiness and plus 1 production anyway. So I think we're going to go for that before the market. Would like to have a market as well, but I think we can actually shave some time off the market by building the stonework. So let's get that done. These workers have now finished with that. We have a farm here on a desert tile, which is a little bit pointless. So I think what I'm going to do for the time being, let's have a look. 3 turns until border growth. So in 3 turns, this forest is going to be ours. So what I'm going to do, actually, is move these guys up here, because it's going to take them 3 turns to get there. By the time they get there, we should have that hex and we can build something there. And we have our great writer. Now, as I was talking before, on the last video, the 2 options you have with a great writer is you can either write a political treaty, which will give us a massive boost of culture. So as you can see on the tooltip there, it will give us 413 culture. Now, the amount it gives you increases with the ages over time. So 413 culture, as you can see, we get 328 culture. Well, we've got 328 culture. We require 1,010 to be able to get our next social policy. And we're getting 66 per turn. So 413 is sort of what, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 turns worth of culture all in one go. Or the other option is to create a great work. Now, it tells you here at the bottom, the great work will be placed in the amphitheatre in the city of Berlin. So it tries to fill them out in a certain order. You can always check if you've got space by clicking on the culture overview. As you can see, I do have 2 slots for great writing, because I also have the national epic and I have the amphitheatre in Hamburg as well. So we're going to do that. If you don't have any empty slots, that option will be greyed out anyway. So we currently have 4 tourism. We are going to create a great work.
Knock, and he'll open.
And we have our great work of writing. And you can now see our tourism has gone up to 6. So we're already starting to have an influence on certain other civilizations. The lowest level of cultural influence is unknown. So we're unknown to China, we're unknown to Rome. But we're actually exotic with Carthage, Japan, the Songhai, the Incans, and the Iroquois. So we already are starting to have more of an effect on them. Now, this little graph actually shows tourism to culture. As you can see, the Iroquois have a very low culture, and we have quite a high tourism in comparison to their culture. So the higher we get the tourism up against their culture, the more influential we are. You look at people like Rome. Rome have a very, very high amount of culture. So do China, which means they're going to be much harder to influence, and we're going to need much more tourism in order to be able to do that. Carthage actually have some culture of their own. Every sort of tourism of their own. They're all starting to get a little bit now. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, a few people have. Oh no, Carthage don't. So China do, Germany do, Rome do, and the Songhai do. Just a little, not much. Not too sure what that's representing then. Adjusted tourism output. Because you do get certain bonuses. We're rising slowly with all of them. We have a 25% bonus with Carthage because they have open borders. So if we can get everyone to open borders, it will increase the amount that our tourism spreads. We'd also get a bonus for having trade routes to different civilizations, and we'd also get a bonus if we had shared religion. So religion shouldn't really be ignored. It is worth having. So let's go on to the next turn. And we really should start getting open borders with people. I mean, we don't necessarily want to open our own borders. Maybe we can just buy other people's borders with gold. But certainly having open borders would help considerably. I'm also keeping my eye on a lot of these islands here. Most of them are too small to worry about settling on, but there are a few around where it might actually be worth putting down a settler and claiming the land. Most of it is just 2 or 3 blocks and not really worth it, but I'm sure we're going to find somewhere out there that has something useful. So what are we going to build here? Well, there isn't an awful lot that we can build now. We've built pretty much everything that is useful. We do have a couple of land trade routes. Now, we could build a caravansary, but we've talked about this before. It would give us increased range, and it would give us 2 extra gold when connecting to another civilization as well. We're not actually trading with other civilizations with our caravans. And even with an extended range, there aren't any other city-states on this piece of land that they could trade with. So that makes that a little pointless. So I think we will go for the lighthouse, which would give us +1 food from coast and ocean tiles and +1 production from any sea resources worked by the city. Well, the sea isn't actually working any resources at the moment, but and it's not really got a lot of population to work the coastal tiles either, so there's probably not much point in building that either, not right now. So let's go for one of the wonders. Now, which one is going to be worth the most to us? So Borobudur will give us 5 faith per turn and 3 free missionaries, and the Hagia Sophia would give us 3 faith per turn and a great profit. Also provides a free temple in the city which it was built. Well, I think we've already got a temple there, so let's see if we can go for Borobudur, because that one is probably going to be the most useful to us. And we can finally almost kind of get these guys around. We have done. We've managed that. What I might also do as well is just try and cut them across here if these guys will move, and then that would let me pop them out the other side. But I don't know. We'll have to see about that one. I could always actually... yeah, they're making it a little bit difficult for me to get through, but I might be able to do it. So, it's a good job I didn't go for the Hagia Sophia, because China have just completed that. Cologne has grown, and a religion has been founded by China, because obviously they got a free great profit for completing the Hagia Sophia. So, let's try and get these guys out and into the water, and we'll see if we can get them across. I can always move one of these units out of the way just so they can get into my territory. I can move these guys up there just so they've got a space to get out. Let's go on to the next turn. I must admit this is probably one of the least eventful games that I've had in quite some time, where I've just been clicking on next turn with not an awful lot to do in between. My brutes have arrived. They've now got the embarkation bonus, which is brilliant. I'm going to bring these guys back up to the hill they were on. As you can see, they instantly start by cutting across the water because it's now much quicker than trekking through the jungle. And then when they get up to the front lines, just to give a bit of protection from any Iroquois soldiers coming from Grand River, I will get these archers to come down and do the same thing. So, we've researched education. A little bit concerned about these Japanese settlers. So, I'm just going to bring my archers down. Now, my archers aren't going to be able to stop them unless I go to war with them, but I might just be able to sort of block them and stop them from landing, which would be ideal. Japan is now the ally of Cahokia. Japan is now the ally of Zanzibar. And Vilnius is undertaking a large public works project, and gold gift is increased. Did we ever get... No, it wasn't Singapore, was it? It was Ur. They're still waiting for gems to be connected to our trade network. We still haven't finished that yet. Those workers are taking an awful long time. So let's have a look at the tech tree. What would be the next most useful thing to us to get? One thing we do want to definitely get is acoustics, because acoustics allows us to build the opera house, which gives us +1 culture and a great work of music slot. It also allows us to build the Sistine Chapel, which gives us +1 culture and 2 great art or artifact slots, and it gives us +25 culture in all cities. So that is almost worth having straight away, and it gives us the Musicians Guild, which works in much the same way as the Artists Guild and the Writers Guild. So I probably should rush that, to be honest. That would be the next most useful thing to do. Of course, it does require having Chivalry first. Chivalry also would allow me to build Alhambra, which would give me an extra 1 culture, and boost city culture output by 20%. So we're going to go for Chivalry and then acoustics. Oh, actually, no, I can get acoustics straight away from education. So here's a question. Do I want to go for Chivalry first? I think I'm probably the highest person on science. So I think I should go for Chivalry first, then go for acoustics. That might be a mistake, because I don't really want to get beaten to the Sistine Chapel. But we'll see how that's going to turn out. So, yep, those guys are going to stay there. I'm not too sure what the Japanese are doing with that settler. Whatever it is, I don't like it. I'm going to move my workers onto that tile, and I get until the next turn to decide what I am going to do with them. I'm going to move these workers around here. Still being blocked by these guys. Hopefully they're going to move to one of these tiles, and I'll pop up and go around them. It's a little bit annoying, but not an awful lot I can do about that. And I'm going to get these guys moved up. They stopped moving because the hill that they were moving to is now occupied by another unit. So on to the next turn. Still doing good on score, but I noticed that since China have founded their religion, they've popped out now. Now, he wants to open borders. He wants a mutual open borders. I'm going to go yes for now. We are friends. I don't think he's going to attack me, and it would allow me to... he's probably then going to move that unit that's in here out, and he has done. He's actually moved them up there, which I suppose is better than nothing. I'm going to try and get those workers out. Hopefully he'll move them on. That wasn't useful, the camera moving like that. So let's get these workers up here. Hopefully he will shift, and then I can get these workers up and start doing something useful. I may even build a road and connect my 2 cities up. It is about time that was done. So we have a Japanese settler. Now, having the Japanese down here is not going to be a good thing. I'm rather hoping that they don't do that because yeah. I've got a feeling that left unchecked, the Japanese are going to try and settle here. And I do not want that to happen. Now, you don't get necessarily a heavy... words. You don't necessarily get a heavy warmonger penalty for just declaring war on somebody. So I think what we're actually going to do... And this could get us into a little bit of hot water. I don't think he's settled near us yet, so I can't even really ask that of him. Demand... Nope, no, not demand. Discuss. Don't settle... Well, no, even if I say don't settle new cities near us, that's probably far enough away from us for him to consider it not being near us. So, unfortunately, what I'm going to have to do... He doesn't have any allied city-states. We don't have any trade routes with him. We don't have any deals with him. He's very upset about this, but we are... Well, I was hoping to actually just capture them, but for some reason my archers decided to fire on them now. I mentioned this before. You cannot actually capture settlers. If you do capture a settler, it becomes a worker if it's somebody else's settler. I don't know if we can negotiate a peace straight away. No, we can't. You can do if you haven't made any offensive action. It's kind of a mechanic. If you accidentally click on something and it goes to the You've Declared War screen, you can make a peace straight away before doing anything. I don't really think he's going to be a threat to me. I don't think he's got any other units around, and we should be able to peace out before he has a chance to do anything. So I'm not worried too much about that. Lumber mill is recommended here for additional production. Let's go for that. Of course, we still have more upgraded tiles than we have citizens to work them, so I'm not too worried. He's most likely going to try and land these warriors and do me some damage. Okay, the Incans want a research agreement, which isn't a bad thing. It would take rather a lot of the money that I currently don't have, but I'm going to go for it. So, if you don't know how a research agreement works, you can only make a research agreement with someone you have a declaration of friendship with. Oh, they are firing at me from the water. You can only make a research agreement with somebody who you have a declaration of friendship with. You both pay a set amount of gold at the start of the research agreement, and then after a fixed number of turns, the research agreement concludes and you both get a big boost to your research. So these guys are now going to fire over here. Not going to be able to do enough damage to take them out, unfortunately. I would like to move my warriors around, but they're going to take ages, so I'm going to leave them there for the time being and not actually move them. Hamburg has now finished its Colosseum. So what could we do? Well, we could build a university, which would be good because this is going to be our science city, but university isn't a wonder, so I don't have to worry too much about that. We could build Angkor Wat, which would give us additional culture, and it would give us a great engineer point, but because it's culture generating, that would be better done in the capital. Now, we could also build Machu Picchu, which would give us another great merchant point, some additional faith, some additional gold. It has to be built within 2 tiles of a mountain. So, 1, 2... We couldn't build it in Berlin anyway, because the nearest mountain is 3 tiles away. So I think we're actually going to build that here. It will give us some extra gold, much needed gold. Now we do get 25% extra gold from city connections, so we are going to have to get our cities connected up via roads. So that is probably the next thing that we're going to do. It is costly building roads to connect cities up, but sometimes it is a requirement. So you do get additional gold from having cities connected. I think we should be taking those guys out. They do quite a lot of damage. This is the, or at least one of the Japanese national civilization unique abilities, which is that they actually, an injured unit fights as if it was a full unit. So normally, as a unit loses strength, as you lose men, you do less damage, but the Japanese don't. If a Japanese archer is down to 1 man, it'll still do as much damage as it would if it was a fully healed unit. So the Japanese are a very, very difficult race to go up against in combat, which is why people often pick the Japanese if they're going for a domination victory, or if they random Japan, often go for a domination victory. It makes the most sense. So I'm going to move the workers here. This is where the road's going to start. I'm going to move these guys back down here and block off my borders a little, and I will get them to build a road up starting from the next turn. I could probably build some other upgrades here, get this salt hooked up, get this wheat hooked up, but we only have a population of 9 in Hamburg. It grows again in 7 turns. As soon as it becomes my turn, if we just have a quick look. Cities we all like to visit. Oh, it looks like the Songhai also have the same tourism as us, but at least we're at the top. So we are going to expand to this tile, which will give us some fish in Hamburg. But we don't have enough people to work all the tiles as it is. We are working the wheat and we are working the salt, so it may well be worth upgrading them. But these guys are going to be free enough soon, so I am not going to worry about that too much. Munich has finished whatever Munich was building, which was the stoneworks, and we said after the stoneworks we were going to go for the market. As you can see, it was 10 turns, it is now down to 8, which is brilliant, so let's get that built. And these archers are going to come down over here, just to get the embarkation promotion. I may also upgrade them to a composite bowman. And let's get these guys to Route 2. And build up to this tile here. Now you can build roads through any tile as long as it's in your territory or neutral territory. You can't build through enemy territory because your workers can't go into enemy territory. And it doesn't do any damage to whatever's on the tiles. So roads, they won't destroy a field, they won't destroy a forest, they go over hills. And the road also increases movement, so if we build any troops at Berlin and we want to move them down to Hamburg quickly, you get double movement on roads. We will still get a little penalty when crossing over bridges, but when we get a certain technology, which is machinery, I believe, yeah, you get even faster movements on road when you get machinery, and it allows you to move over bridges without... oh no, it's engineering, sorry. Engineering allows bridges over rivers, and so you can basically cross a river without a penalty, and then machinery gives you even faster movement on road, and then after that you eventually get to railroads, which are stupidly fast. So, this caravan was trading with Singapore previously. It may as well carry on doing that. No reason to change it because that has been working out well for us. On to the next turn. Would have liked to have had a couple more workers, but not a great deal that I can do about that right now. We do need to get these roads and things hooked up. Okay, so China is willing to give us 1 gold per turn for us to open our borders. Now, I don't want to open my borders to her. What I will accept is a mutual open borders, though. No, it's not in her favour. Well, guess what, lady? It's not in mine either. So, I'm not going to take 1 gold per turn just to open my borders, because that would mean her culture would have more of an impact on me. If I can get her to open her borders at the same time, I'll be happy to do that. We've finally got these gems connected. And as you can see here, as I requested, you have successfully connected gems to your trade network. Their merchants are pleased, and your influence with them has increased by 40. Influence over her has increased to the point where you are now friends. As a maritime city-state, they will export food to your empire, +2 in the capital and +0 in all of the cities, and this increases as the ages go on. They also have given you permission to move units through their territory. Well, thanks, sir. Thanks a lot. That's really kind of you. And we're only a few influence away from actually being allied with them as well. If we were allied with them, they would also give us their luxury resources, which means we would get additional silver from them. We may actually have a great merchant coming soon, which would probably be enough to do that. Still a little way off getting one here in Hamburg. If we look at Berlin, we've almost got a great engineer, actually. We'll have a great engineer on the next turn. But still quite a way off a great merchant, which is a little bit sad. So lots of great people about to come out of Berlin. I'm going to get these guys to go up now and deal with the wheat field. Unless the other workers start building a road there, in which case I will get them to go and deal with the salt mine instead. So let us go on to the next turn. Again, another sort of turn where I don't have a lot to do. I guess it's because I don't have a lot of units. This tends to be my downfall sometimes. Because I generally play most games passively, I tend not to build very big armies. Unless I can see an attack is coming. If I can see an attack is coming, then generally I will. But normally I have very, very few troops to have to bother dealing with. So we've discovered some ruins. Once again, they are on a little rock out in the middle of nowhere. We've also discovered an awful lot of barbarians around. So declaration with friendship of the Inca has run its course and will need to be renewed. Let's see if they renew it. Actually, let's actually try that. Let's go into the diplomacy screen. Let us find the Incans, and we're still friendly with them. Let us discuss. Shall we make a joint declaration of friendship? They think it's an excellent idea. Not heard anything from Japan. Just remembered, still at war with them. Can we negotiate a peace? No, we cannot. Doesn't tell us how long we have to wait. Global politics. At war. No. Deal history. Deal history is also quite useful because you can see who you have current deals with. You can see what the deals are and what turn they end on. You can also see deals you've had in the past with other nations. So, quite nice. But no, I can't make peace out with Japan at the moment. Don't really need to. They're not being too much of a pain. And we have a guy, a great engineer. Oh, it's Alexander Gustav Eiffel, who was, yes, very German. So what we could do is we could either use him to Russia production, and that would give us an extra 50 production. Now, we're currently building a wonder, and that wonder should tell us somewhere. Right, we are 250.18 production through a 300 production building. So we could actually use our great engineer and add 50 production to it and instantly finish it. But for 2 turns, I don't think we're going to bother. Because this city is growing quite quickly, I think what we're going to do is we're going to move him up to this hex up here, and we will build another manufactory, because that's probably the best thing to put on that hex there. So let's move on to the next turn. And that will give us another nice boost to production. It's a shame I can't actually, 1, 2, 3. Putting it on the hill may be better. Now, why is the plains giving me as much... Well, it's plains, of course. Plains give me 1 production as well. So, yeah, it doesn't matter if it goes on the plains or the hill. And then if I put it on the hill, I'd be removing the forest, and then I'd lose the food. So, yeah, might as well just put it on the plains. Okay, a unit needs orders, which are these archers. They are going to get upgraded to composite bowmen. Now, one of the things that I was going to say earlier, and then I cut myself off, is what a lot of people tend to do is every time they have a possible upgrade for their units, is they will... pay the gold cost and upgrade it to the next level. Now that might seem like a good idea, but the problem is if you actually think how expensive a unit is, imagine starting off with an archer and upgrading him to a composite bowman, and then upgrading him to a longbowman, and then upgrading him to a musketman or whatever the next one is. By the time you've upgraded them 3 or 4 times, you've spent probably twice or 3 times what the value of just building a new unit was. So sometimes it's worth just leaving the guys and not upgrading them, and then just saving the money and buying a unit as and when you need to. We appear to have some Japanese workers around now. Going to be keeping my eye on them. If he lands them, I'm definitely going to nab them. I'm going to move these guys up here, actually, onto the hill for a better view. We can adopt a policy, and our golden age is ended, which is sad. Zanzibar wants money, don't they always? So let us go and adopt a policy. Now, we could finish aesthetics, which would increase the tourism modifier for shared religion, trade routes and open borders by 15% each. That's well worth it. And adopting all policies doubles the theming bonus you receive from museums and wonders. It also allows the purchase of great writers, artists or musicians with faith starting in the industrial area. So that's definitely worth having. Our current tourism is 6. We're going to go for cultural exchange. It's still only 6, and the reason for that is we don't actually have any theming bonuses yet, but it will come in handy later. Sorry about that, I've just punched the microphone there, getting all excited. As you can see though, I now have 40% bonus for having open borders with Carthage, as opposed to the 25% bonus I had before. So, I'm not likely to get open borders with the Iroquois anytime soon, but if I did, at least that'd give me a massive boost to their culture. So, what are we going to do? These workers have finished building, and now they're kind of stuck. How long is it before Munich gets another border growth? 8 turns. I'm tempted just to leave those guys there for now and just put them to sleep. It's a bit of a waste of money because we are paying for them to... we are paying a maintenance cost every turn, but we'll leave them there for the time being. Let's move on to the next turn. It's pointless me moving them because by the time they get anywhere useful, there'll be another border expansion down here in Munich. And I could sell them and then rebuy them, but that all seems kind of pointless anyway. Your worker was ordered to build in a route to a destination that is blocked and cancelled his order. That's because these guys are now in the way. So what I'm going to do is move those guys over and get them to go and do the salt mine first. And then I'm going to get these guys to route 2 and they'll go and build it that way. They could have gone this way onto this tile and built that way round. But no, they've decided they wanted to go through the wheat field. So we'll get these workers to do the salt mine first. And on to the next turn. Still so much potential for Hamburg here. Oh. That's very interesting. Japan wants to give me Osaka. Oh. Oh. Where's Osaka? So they've got a city that they're willing to give me. Now that would be a major... Ooh. Okay, we've completed Borobudur, which is great. We have a great artist, but I still can't find where that it's very tempting. The problem is, do I necessarily want to have another city? Well, I do. The first thing I'm going to do is steal his worker, because he left it there unattended, rather stupidly. Now have a massive loss to my amount of money. And I do not know why, because we weren't on minus 11 a moment ago, so I'm not too sure what's changed there. Negotiate peace. He's still willing to give me that city. I don't know if I should take it. He doesn't have any gold or anything, so there's no point me taking anything off him. I probably shouldn't accept. I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to. Okay. So, we instantly discover a new wonder because we've taken that city. So we found the Grand Mesa, so that gives us a little bit extra happiness. And, of course, if worked, we get some stuff. Now, these are the options that you get if you either capture a city or if you're given a city in a trade deal, and a peace deal counts as a trade deal. So, you get these options. Obviously, view city, straightforward enough, takes you to the city. Raise the city will allow you to burn the city down. So the city will burn down by 1 population each turn until it reaches 0 and is removed from the game. It produces quite a bit of extra unhappiness during the raising. But of course, once the city's been raised, that unhappiness goes. Raising this city will increase the unhappiness by 9. The unhappiness will decrease by 1 each turn. So the city size must be 9. The way it works is, when you raise a city, the population decreases by 1 each turn until there's none left, and then the city is just gone. It's removed from the game. You cannot raise a city if it is a city-state or if it is a civilization's original capital. There are the only 2 city types that can't be raised. You can start to raise a city and then stop raising it later on. So you might want to burn it down a little bit and then change your mind, or just reduce the population. You can do that. You can also, if you annex a city or create a puppet state, you can actually then start raising it later on if you want to as well. So these 2 options here. Annexing the city basically makes it your city. It works just like it is a normal city that belongs to you. It would produce a bit of extra unhappiness. In this case, again, it's going to tell us unhappiness of 9. Now, we can create a puppet city. By turning a city into a puppet, it still gives us gold and science and culture, but we can't actually choose what it builds. It's like it has its own mayor. It does its own thing. We still get all of the lands around it. We still get all of the bonuses and the luxury resources that's in the area around it, providing, of course, they're upgraded with workers. We can garrison units in it. It just means we can't go into that city and say, I want you to build this and I want you to build that. So the advantage, though, is it will give us much less unhappiness. So it'll only give us 6 unhappiness in this case, as opposed to giving us 9 unhappiness. Also, because it's not an annex city, it doesn't increase the cost of social policies or great people. So, and we can annex it later. So I'm just going to have a quick view of the city, because I'm not sure where it is. Oh, it's down there. That's not where I expected it to be. And we instantly have access to gold. And that wonder. Shame that wonder's too far away to do anything. But, so it's quite close to our borders. I'm glad we've got that. So, what we're going to do is we are going to create a puppet. Now, you can tell it's a puppet because it has this little sort of puppet control icon here. And this little red fist means it is in resistance. The resistance is going to last for 2 turns. On higher difficulty levels, it lasts for a little bit longer. While it's in resistance, it won't actually do anything useful. The city's on strike, basically. Nothing is going to happen with it. Big problem I've got, though, is I don't have any units over here, and it's quite possible that the Japanese could decide to try and take it back at some point. But we might have to bring some units over here and have a look. So, if you can see on the mini-map, in relation to our territory, it's just actually south of the Iroquois. So it's quite a distance away, but it's a nice little place to have. So, enough waffle about that. Let's move on to Berlin. Angkor Wat, as I said, would give me an extra culture and great engineer points, and would give me culture cost of acquiring new tiles reduced by 25. Isn't really needed all that much, but we're going to go for it anyway, because just the 1 culture and the engineer point would be nice. Then we really need to crack on and get the universities done if we can. We do have a great artist. Now, we could start a golden age, and we could also consume a great work, but the problem is we don't actually have anywhere where we could put a great piece of art. Well, we do, but the 2 places we have, the Palace and the Parthenon, both have a great work of art in there, which is a bit of a shame. So what we're going to do is we will just pop in for a Golden Age, because we're quite a long way off having another Golden Age. So we'll pop him and we'll get a 12-turn Golden Age. Bit of a waste, because I would have liked to have used him. We now have a missionary. And what we are going to do is use that missionary to spread religion. We are going to go down to... Well, we're going to go to Hamburg first, because Hamburg still haven't quite flipped. So let's get Hamburg flipped first. And then if we've got any strength left in him, we'll try and move him down. And we'll probably do our own cities first. So we'll try and move him down and deal with Munich. So we've got our great engineer who has landed up here. We are going to build a manufactory. And this hex now gives us 1 food and 5 production per turn, which is brilliant. That'll speed things up nicely. And oh yeah, we've actually got a second missionary that I didn't. We've got 3 missionaries. Wow. Okay. So one of you is going to go and spread our religion to city-states, and the other one of you is going to work your way down here and get to Munich if you can. So let's go on to the next turn. I know this video's run a little bit over, so I'll probably just finish up and then move on to the next turn. Let's just get those guys to build the mine. So we'll have a look at the next turn and see what's going on. So what's the difference between a missionary and a great prophet? Oh, Alhambra has been completed by Caesar. The difference between a missionary and a great prophet is a missionary can spread religion twice. What's going on up there? Oh, Wheel of the King Day. Yes, a great prophet can spread religion 4 times, whereas a missionary can only spread religion twice. A great prophet can also be converted into a holy site, a shrine, which can be, well, it's not a shrine, but a holy site, which is a tile upgrade that will give you faith if worked. And a great prophet can also be used to found and enhance religions. But that's pretty much the only real difference between them. So what happened? Inca are now an ally of Kiev. The leaders of Singapore have been keeping an eye on the prosperity of the city-states. Want you to help keep their rivals in check. If you demand any type of tribute from they'll reward you. But there again, I'm friends with so I don't really want to bully them for a tribute. Caesar has completed Alhambra. Let's move units that need moving. Of course, we have these brutes that are going to go back up onto the hill. We have some free workers that we are going to try and get. I think actually what I might do is move these workers down there if they can get there safely. It's a free worker, so if I lose it, it hasn't really cost me anything. Composite bowmen have now healed up, so I'm going to get these guys back over there. I'll put them on the hill actually and move the brutes down. And that's pretty much all I can do on that turn. So we've made a little bit of improvement. I'm very, very surprised that Japan offered me one of their cities to peace out. I mean, I admit it's not the best of cities. It's got a population of 3. As you can see, if I click on it, I can either leave it as a puppet or annex it. If I annex it, I can raise it. I think the only time you can't raise a city is if it's, like I said, if it's a city-state or an original capital, or if it's a city you've built yourself. So as you can see, population of 4. It's currently working a food tile, a food tile, a food and production tile. It's not even working that gold tile yet, but the food here is very, very limited. Get a workboat on that tile and that would give it some additional food, but unfortunately it's also going to be just out of range of the Grand Mesa. 1, 2, 3. It's literally 1 tile too far away to work the Grand Mesa, which is a bit of a shame. But I'm very, very surprised that he offered me a city to go to peace, because we hadn't actually... Yes, he'd lost a couple of units to me, but he wasn't in a position to be threatened by me. I wasn't in a position to threaten him. I don't understand why he did that. It seems like a bit of a stupid move. It certainly knocked him right down on the scores. I don't think Japan is going to be a threat to us. He may declare war against us later, but I think we're good. It's probably going to stop him from ever opening borders with us, but it's nice to have, but it's not required. So, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope you're still enjoying the series, and I hope I'm going to do Germany justice by getting this cultural victory, because I really want to. And I'll see you next time. So until then, goodbye for now.